Hey guys, how's it going? It's Mitch coming at you with a quick video. As most of you probably know from Billy Hurst and MrHofFame, Brandon posting videos. About a week ago, I went to visit Billy in the St. Louis area, and we went and met up with Brandon at the St. Louis record show. Dug around the show for a little bit. Then we went and visited a few stores, had lunch. It was a really fun Saturday overall. Just want to say, Brandon, it was really nice to meet you finally, and thanks for the Raising Cane's. Lunch was delicious. You didn't have to buy it. It was really generous of you. Billy, thanks for the hospitality, and it was wonderful to meet your family, and really appreciate you letting me crash out down in the music room and let me touch all your shit without really having to ask. So anyway, you guys, like I said, first we went to the St. Louis record show. We did a lot of digging around. There were some pretty decent vendors there. I saw a lot of stuff that I would have liked to have owned, but as you can imagine, in typical record fair fashion, everything was extremely high priced as far as the nicer, more rare, sought after stuff, and a lot of it I just didn't feel like haggling over. I did end up making one seller an offer on a couple of albums, and we just couldn't meet in the middle. So I actually walked out of the St. Louis record show with nothing in my tote. So we went out to some record stores in St. Louis. I had a full wallet at that point. I hadn't spent any of my money yet. And so the first store that Billy and Brandon took me to was called Planet Score Records. I was really impressed by Planet Score. They had a lot of selection. They had CDs, they had tapes. Like I said, really good record selection, both new and used. This is a really cool vibe in that store. So being the first time that I visited that store, I of course had to dig through almost all of it. Brandon and Billy were certainly patient with me, and I ended up coming away with a couple of things from Planet Score, which I'll show here in a second. Then we went to lunch, like I said, and then we went to Euclid Records, which was really well organized. You could just tell it was like a long established record store. As soon as you walked in the door, they just had their shit together. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything there that really grabbed my eye. It was kind of overwhelming, and it was honestly more fun watching Billy Hurst dig through the country selection there. He was like a kid in a candy store. And then we parted ways with Brandon and ended up going to a store on the Illinois side of the river that Billy frequents pretty often called Trustee Records. And I got a couple of things there, so I'll show you those guys. 3 minutes in, we'll finally get to see some records here. My first find at Planet Score was this bad boy. This is, of course, Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop featuring Terry Bozzio and Tony Hymas here. I'm a big Jeff Beck fan. I really love Terry Bozzio. I grew up with my dad being both a Jeff Beck fan and a big Frank Zappa fan, and being that Terry was in Frank's band, this was always one of my dad's favorite albums, and so that kind of, through osmosis, became one of my favorite Jeff albums. This one's from 1989, so it's a little bit harder to find. I've been looking for a clean original U.S. pressing for a while, and Planet Score had my back on that. Another one I'd never seen out in the wild is this guy. This is Cheap Trick's Busted. This one's from 1990. I haven't spun it yet. Never heard the album, but it was super clean. I've got a fairly complete Cheap Trick collection, and I'm working on completing my Japanese Cheap Trick collection. So when I saw this in the shape that it was in, having never seen it, and it being 1990, I just had to go ahead and scoop it up. And then, like I said, we went to Trustee Records on the Illinois side, and Like I said, Billy frequents that store pretty often. It was really nice. It's a newer store, both CDs and records. And Colin, Billy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the owner's name is Colin. He had some really nice new stuff in there. There was a lot of music on vinyl pressings. There was a lot of there's indie record store exclusive stuff. And he also had a lot of Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab stuff, which I was really excited about. I got some really good deals. So start off with the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab silver label pressing of the band's self-titled here. Man, there's what all's on here. We've got Rag Mama Rag, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Up on Cripple Creek, King Harvest Has Surely Come, Rockin' Chair. I mean, there's a lot of really solid stuff on here. Super excited to hear how this one sounds. I haven't been able to crack it open yet. But I have spun this bad boy. This is Grateful Dead in the Dark, the original master recording. Honestly, I love Touch of Grey so much that I was telling Billy I would have paid the price of admission for this Mobile Fidelity just to hear Touch of Grey. But luckily, this whole album is pretty solid front to back. Next up, I went ahead and picked up James Gang Rides Again. Kind of the same situation. This is a really solid album, but would have paid the MoFi price just to hear Funk 49. This James Gang Rides Again had been on my want list for a little while, and then it kind of sold out on some of the online outlets that I frequent to buy my audiophile pressing. So I was really stoked to see this in the bin at Trustee Records. Last but not least, Brassberries Best on limited edition red vinyl. I honestly have only ever, until I spun this, I'd only ever heard Go All the Way. But this was like $18 or something. It was on sale, so I figured I couldn't go wrong with getting a Mobile Fidelity pressing that cheaply. So anyway, guys, like I said, just a quick, short and sweet video to show off my St. Louis record show weekend finds. I wanted to, again, thank Billy and Brandon for their hospitality and showing me around town. I had a lot of fun, and as we talked about in person, you guys are more than welcome to head out this way anytime. I'd love to host you and show you around the record stores here in Kansas City. Thanks everybody for watching and commenting. I really appreciate the interaction here on YouTube, and looking forward to hopefully making a little bit more content in 2020 than I did in 2019. This is my second video in like a couple of weeks, which I think I only made 3 videos in all of 2019. So I'm on track so far, you know, it's not too hard to beat 3 videos. Anyway, guys, like I said, I really appreciate you taking time to watch, and we'll see you soon.